Good morning. Welcome back to the Brick by Brick podcast with Ronald Pauleus. I have a special guest with us today. Bridgette Ruiz is with us and she's a wealth of knowledge. I am excited and ready to pick your brain, Bridgette. I know our audience is one that's inquisitive and they're ready to learn. They're ready to get the information that will help them grow and just get to the next step, get to the next level. And so, thanks for giving us some of your time. I have a few questions and let's get rolling.
Let's do this.
With the first question here, Bridgette, would you introduce yourself for the audience and share what you have learned in your real estate journey?
Ah, yes. Well, first of all, Ronald, thank you so very much for having me. I'm so honored that we get this opportunity to share our
Yes.
experiences, to be able to explain kind of what we have learned, what I have learned, and I love that you share that same sentiments because learning is a big part of how I show up.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
and my experience as well. And so a little bit about myself. My name is Bridget and I'm married with three children I live in Southern California and I love real estate and um, having had three children, I said when they were very little that I was going to invest in real estate. And it was always said, it was just part of our dialogue around the household. And I was busy raising three children, and they were very
Yeah,
close in age. They were not
yeah.
years apart. I didn't have a lot of free time. And so, I did all the reading. I was definitely reading. I was listening
Mm,
to audiobooks. I was doing all of these things, but it was never it couldn't take me to the next level. It couldn't help
mm,
me get to actually
mhm,
taking
mhm.
action. And mind you, they were young and, life was very focused on them. And I am so blessed that they are fabulous people because we put in that work while they were young.
Mm.
But I always
Good
had in the
job.
back of my mind, I will invest. And they heard that and we talked a lot about it. And they know I've said that. Um, but while I was raising them and saying I was going to invest, I was also, you know, in now 20 years into human resources and
Mm,
really spent a lot of time. I think all the skills that are needed, even in real estate, are going to come from your life experiences, right?
mm,
And
mhm,
that's even in
mhm.
my own life experiences. I was hiring people. I was, training and developing. I love talent. I love seeing people and what they do wonderfully. And we're all given gifts, all of us.
Yes.
We all
Yeah,
have
yeah.
something special that is unique to us. And so as also a certified Gallup coach, I
Nice.
really focus on our strengths and what do we do really well. So those two worlds of my business background, and then of course wanting to learn and dive into real estate and investing in particular was, just kind of this mesh, the two worlds.
Mm, yeah,
Could never get it to the next level because reading books and,
yeah.
bigger pockets, all those things, but
Oh,
yet
I remember that.
yeah, right? Like we all have probably somehow touched these places where you can learn, but it was the community that you and I, Ronald,
Mm,
share our friendship from because
yeah.
having a community with Pace Morby and the Sub 2 community is what took that's where success has come because there
Big
are other
time.
people, right?
Big time.
Surrounding us. Yeah. And the books, the audio, all the learning just didn't help until I got to a place where I could actually do these transactions with other people.
Mm, hmm.
And there's a lot of lessons to be learned. I've not really talked much about this publicly, but my very first transaction, I myself am a private money lender, and so
Okay.
I lent on a very first deal, sub two deal, and it has been a shaky kind of an experience. My money has
Oh,
not been treated the way I wanted
so
it to be,
sorry. Yeah, so sorry.
where, yeah,
Mm,
your partnerships really matter. They really do.
mm,
And unfortunately, I know the pain of what that looks like and what it feels like when your money is not being respected.
Mm,
And so, kind of on the flip side to that, my business partner, Ariane Gibson, and I are focused on purchasing homes, rehabbing them, and
mm,
then
mm-hmm.
being able to provide them to the community for sober living. And
Awesome.
so
Yeah. Wow.
that just feels so right. I have a North Star,
Yeah.
which took a while, by the way, for the audience who's
I
listening.
bet.
While do not feel that you are behind at any point of your journey because it is just part of the process. So lean into that. It's okay. We're all going to find our groove. It takes a while. And I know when I met you, Ronald, I was so excited when I meet those that I just get to pour into, and I know that they're capable, and I'm so excited to see your
Mm,
success. It's been so exciting to see that journey for you, and I just love that. So thank you again for having me on. I think that this is a great way for us to share what we've learned, what we are learning, and then of course to, kind of continue to educate. And that is kind of how I
yeah.
show up
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, no doubt. It's one of your superpowers. I remember networking with you and jumping on a call with you when I first joined Sub 2, and you were you're a great listener, gave me some tips, coached me along the way, and yeah, that's your superpower, educating and helping others. You talked a little bit about finding your North Star and getting into sober living and that groove. We talk a lot about avatars and aviators in the real estate sphere. Pace Morby has a whole series called the Avatar series, trying to find out where you can land. How did you know what part of real estate was the right place for you?
Yeah, that's such a great question because I talk to a lot of folks, right? And I know how important it is for us to connect with people, right? And
Hmm,
the
yeah,
Avatar
yeah.
series, those of us in the community, and just understanding, what do you love doing? What wakes you up in the morning and gets you
Mm-hmm,
excited,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
And so for me, it took a while. Like I mentioned, it takes a while because you could enjoy several parts of this. There's so many ways to make money in real estate. There are
Oh
so
yeah,
many ways,
a
right? Like
plethora. Mm-hmm.
you can easily, and here's what is very common is there's so many things to learn, so many different places that you could put your energy and time, and then you get a little sidetracked. And what I've found is that if I get laser focus, right, and I find that excitement, which for me has become capital raising. I didn't really know what
Mm-hmm.
that was at first, and we'll
Okay.
talk probably more about what that is, but
Yeah.
what that means for me is for treating other people and having them come along with
Mm,
us while we are actually doing some wonderful things in the community. It's
mm,
I think a bit of energy and excitement when we get to impact those who are
yeah.
on a journey trying to live a sober life. And so the ability to go hand in hand with our lenders that, help, one, improve the communities and help people's lives, two, make them some returns that, the banks are not going to give you.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not going to get these kinds of returns.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity. It really is. And I love the fact that I can, I one, have unfortunately experienced the pains of what that looks like when you're not treated in
Mm,
the right ways. And
mm-hmm.
then two, be able to give that white glove experience to someone who
Mm,
um, can feel confident in what we are doing, which is, it, I just love and adore, building those relationships and um, helping,
yeah.
again, that education part, because
Mm,
yeah, sure, you could lend, but is that person going to learn along the way, right? And I don't like everything
uh,
in the dark,
yeah.
and neither would I want for someone who's going to come alongside us to be in the dark. So there's always open communication. There's
That's
definitely
awesome.
the experience of, okay, so here's next, here's what you're going to expect. and that
Yeah.
communication is ongoing. They get that communication. They know what to expect. I'm going to guide them and help them get to, a level that they feel comfortable and confident, which, is earned. All of it is
Mm,
earned. So I know it takes time. So that
yeah.
definitely what I have found for my avatar is that capital raising. But it's difficult. It can take some time. You may find you like something, try it and this is what you and I
Yeah.
talked about, right, Ronald? When we first I said, give it 90 days.
Mm.
If you love it, great. If you don't do it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's just as simple as that. And so just pay
Yeah.
attention, listen a little to what gives you energy, what's exciting. And then if it's not, then okay, maybe that's not it. Because I touched direct to seller. I called direct to
Mm-hmm.
seller. I called agents.
Yeah.
I touched a lot of different areas and what we call avatars
Yeah.
in
Mm-hmm.
ways to, get some interactions here with our transactions. And as we, are finding real estate opportunities, it's, took a little bit, but I leaned into who I am. And I know that
Mm.
as in my career, my over 20 years in human resources, I
Yeah.
can help people. I do this all the time. So I still have my W-2,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it means that you can do this really
Mm-hmm.
with as much time if you're focused, if you're dedicated.
Yeah.
And that's
That's
what I
great.
see in
Mm-hmm.
you, Ronald, is that
Thank you.
you make it work. You can make it work,
Yeah.
right? I have
I
three
try.
children. I have a husband. I have
Yeah.
a household that I've got to manage and all those
Yeah.
other things. So it can be done. It really can.
Yeah. I think that's valuable. I just want to highlight that when you are able to focus, it's amazing what you can get done. But when you have what is called the shiny object syndrome, where you're on to the next thing, you're focusing on nickels here, and a quarter shows up, and half a dollar shows up, and your time, the limited time you already have, is broken up into five different things. And when you
Yes.
can focus, I think, or I should say, I know you can do amazing things because you just have that laser,
Yep.
right? Like
Yes.
lasers just point to that one thing, while a flashlight kind of lightens a whole area. And I think sometimes a lot of people have that flashlight perspective, and we need laser
Oh,
focus perspective.
yes. I love that. Yeah, absolutely.
You talked a little bit about communication, and I'm going to share just a short story here.
Yeah.
On my second deal, Bridget, I was working to get it to the finish line. I was going to wholesale it, and I pivoted and decided to keep it as a rental because rentals were my long-term goal. I want rentals. I want 30 before I turn 30, which is in about 3 years. And so I thought to myself, oh, my second deal, I'll keep it as a rental. The reason for that was because it was a three bedroom, two bath, and
Hmm.
there was a garage that was converted to a one bedroom, one bath. So it was an ADU, additional dwelling unit.
Hmm.
And I was looking at the rental income potential and just said to myself, I need to keep this one. This was in the market almost 2 hours away from me in Lawton, Oklahoma. And it was in a very, very bad area, poor area. Homeless people have broken into said place. The ADU, the owner had to board it up because they stole the plumbing and the copper, just really bad.
Hmm.
And I thought to myself, well, I'll keep it as a rental. And I went through a PML, or what I thought was a PML. Started having those conversations. Looking back, they were really a hard money lender because they charge points, and that's the difference, right? Hard money people, they're usually brokers using other people's money and getting it to the right place to be funded. And then other times and then compared to private money lenders, they don't charge you any points. It's their money. And so this person was really bad with communication. This is my second deal. I don't know the things, and that should have been a red flag, but I just was not aware of it. I didn't have you in my life saying, "Hey, don't go forward with this." And
Hmm.
so, to make a long story short, I got to closing, was given all the documents on the hard money side to be ready for closing. Title was ready for closing. We got to closing and the money was not wired. And I said to myself, is this normal? And the escrow agent was like, no. Monday comes. This Friday was supposed to be on a closing. Closing was supposed to be on Friday. Monday comes and still no money wired. And I ended up being scammed almost $2,000 because I wired them money for their appraisal. And I was going to pay points, their funds up front. But I said, hey, could I just get insurance because I don't have the money for it? And they gave me a lender's insurance policy that I paid $1,250 for. Lost that money. Just complete scam. I eventually ended up wholesaling it and recouped my $2,000. But I learned a valuable lesson. Communication is so vital. And so I use that to go into my next question here. You talked about capital raising. You talked about your experience as a PML. How do you help your private money lenders? What paperwork do you have that protects them? What makes you different from that hard money guy that I lost $2,000 on?
Yeah, yeah. And to kind of lean in a little on your story, it's so true. The lessons that we learn, right? That I've learned, and it's painful. It's painful.
Oh yeah.
To go through these things, and yet the lessons that you learn, and the way I'm leaning into this is to say that if I didn't have that experience, if I didn't have, to see what it looks like on the other side of the spectrum, right, then I wouldn't be able to provide the level of service that I am to our private money lenders, right?
So true.
And
So true.
it's painful. I was quite embarrassed. I am. And yet again, like I said, I haven't talked a lot about it. So this is definitely proof of how, you kind of want to not share, but it's the reality. And you have to talk about the reality and know that as you evaluate, because there is definitely due diligence time. And we'll start with that. We'll
Awesome.
start with that.
Okay.
That is, if anybody is rushing you, if anybody is applying pressure to do something with your hard-earned money, that might be a little red flag that, again, I didn't even know was something to kind of be aware of. And that was definitely part of my transaction as well, was hurry, you got to do this quick. And you're not given time. For those who are listening who may or may not understand what due diligence is, due diligence is a period of time that allows for you to evaluate. When is this a good deal? Are we going to see it perform? If you're fix and flipping, for example, right? You have to evaluate a lot of things, the materials, all of the labor, the time, holding costs, expenses that, you have electricity, right? You've got water that has to run. So all of those things are all factored in. So you need to have adequate time to evaluate that. So due diligence is step one. You need to be given that time if you're going to lend, to see these numbers, to have time to look over that. And so due diligence is a big part. I didn't have that either. It was kind of the hurry, rush. And, now looking back, that's definitely something that I don't do. And my business partner and I actually have a completely different model because of that. One, we want them to have all that information and it not be so unknown. It's the safest type of opportunities because we have all of those numbers and those details. And so it's not a surprise. It's none of this hurry, rush. Hey, we got to do this, yesterday, hurry, you got to do it. And you apply that kind of pressure and things get messy. You just start making mistakes. So we don't apply that kind of a pressure, but
that's valuable.
And it really does make part of that experience different. And I want that experience to be memorable so that, they can, one, make the returns that the banks are not providing them, and be able to experience that in a much more relaxed and supportive experience. Um, knowing that there is a lot of paperwork sometimes, right? So each state is different. You've got states where, you have to, of course, follow your laws based off of the state. So, of course, an answer like this, I can't go and say exactly,
Yeah,
but I,
understood.
I certainly can speak to several things that protect um, those that provide, private money. And so the things that we put in place are, obviously giving that due diligence time so that they can evaluate and feel
That's good.
comfortable, right? Two, for example, deed of trust, which is a
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
document that is drafted by lawyers. So there are pieces that I can help with, but there's other
Mm-hmm.
pieces depending upon how the funds and what funds are used. But on the flip side to that, there are ways to have these documents recorded by counties, right? And for
Okay.
those
Yeah.
to be on file. So you record a deed of trust and that person's name to that property. And so there's some level of protection there that helps. Um, Again, that's just recorded, and that is part of that due diligence when you think about it, because it is documented. It's part of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
knowing that if there's a lender of sorts, they can't sell the house. Someone can't just sell the house underneath them. It will cloud what is called, they'll cloud title, right? And that
Mm.
those documents are there and drafted and visible when a transaction takes place. So um, that's just one of those steps. You've got promissory note, right? You can always draft
Okay. Yeah.
a promissory note, which ultimately is an agreement, right? Um, and so that document is also something that you could provide, and we provide, right? We want our lenders to know that, you will get your full investment and plus interest as time is going along. Again,
Mm-hmm.
banks are not going to be giving double digit returns, right?
Yeah. Wow.
That's not their model. And that
Yeah.
model
Wow.
obviously is why they can afford the real estate that they do. Because you notice that banks have these
Mm.
really large offices or really nice, marble
Oh,
flooring,
yeah.
right? Like all of those things, how are they funded? It's funded because they're using our
That's
money
so
in
true.
in ways that, we don't get to control. We just let it sit in the bank, right? And it's
So
not
true.
making us money. It's dying. That money is
Yeah.
dying. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh, promissory note, deed of trust, obviously allowing time for due diligence. And then another really important piece that
Okay.
we hear a lot about is escrow. And for the audience who's listening, it's like, well, what's escrow? Escrow, an account is set aside, right? And we've all in our community, Ronald, you and I would know this, but outside of our community, it may not. Um, when there is this account, the escrow account is established, funds are transferred there. So that money is not directly
Mm.
coming to, say, myself or Aryan. It's not like it's sitting in our bank account. The escrow account is where that money sits, and that money is protected, and they're able to then disperse, give instructions on when
Ah, okay.
push out that money and to who and where and all of those details.
Gotcha.
So it's not just going directly to somebody who a scammer can just go, oh, great, thanks, take that money and run. And there's no proof that that money
Mm.
actually
Mm-hmm.
was sent to somebody or that there is, you know, any instruction whatsoever. So escrow accounts are vital to those who are lending, and so that you can actually have that control. So that's also kind of an important part of understanding the lending. And when
Yeah.
you do go through this, the process of lending to, say, a real estate investor or even small businesses and other
Yeah.
ways to use private money.
Wow. So you're giving all the things I never got. Due diligence and a promissory note, deed of trust, and wiring funds to the title company,
Yep.
the escrow account, as opposed to my situation where I wired it directly to them. Oh, that's valuable. Not to even include the double digit returns.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest. biggest win right there. Okay, awesome. Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. I want to ask this. We're kind of coming towards the end here, but our viewers, how could my viewers get a hold of you? I mean, people who they have money sitting around, they're not getting the greatest return in their savings account or money market account, and even that's under double digits. And they want to know more about capital raising. They want to know more about private money lending. How can my viewers get a hold of you, Bridgette?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Instagram is one of the easiest places. You'll always see my content around what's going on, not only just in the transactions and the things that are doing, but you can get a hold of me with the handle Ruiz. So my last name, Ruiz _ Bridgette, Bridgette. It's one of the easiest ways to get a hold of me. I'm also on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn.
Okay.
It's that
Yeah.
professional career that I've had a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's an easy
HR.
place to get a hold of me with HR background. So you can get a hold of me through LinkedIn. That, however, is Bridgette Ruiz. It's a little easier there for LinkedIn. And then even, just, be able to get a hold of me even by my cell, which is 714-496-1260.
Awesome. Thank you so much for jumping on the show, sharing your knowledge, and this was just all surface. I mean, you have way more I know you
Mm-hmm.
can share. And I want to say that with your HR background, with you helping people for 20 plus years and making sure that they receive all of their benefits, that they're onboarded well,
Yes.
that transition from not knowing the company to knowing the company is smooth. That experience will help you. Just from what you've shared, I could tell people who lend you $1 you will make sure that dollar works, that dollar is taken care of, and that they are aware of the whole process. I think
Yeah.
over communication is regular communication, because like you said, people who've worked hard for their dollars, people who've worked hard for this money, and for them not to be communicated, for them not to know what's happening is like what's happening. It's builds fear. And so thanks for jumping on the show. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Thanks for being vulnerable. And I look forward to hearing more from you and connecting with you and seeing what all you'll do here in the real estate sphere, especially with sober living. We need more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Ronald. It's been an absolute joy to be here. It's super fun and happy to educate. That's what this is all about. We got to educate
Mm-hmm.
and help those who can make those double-digit returns, help those who are in their sobriety journey, and
Mm-hmm.
really make an impact. And I'm so grateful I have that North Star now to know
Yes,
where I kind of fit into the real estate investing space. So thank
for
you. You're a
sure.
phenomenal host. Thank you.
Thanks for joining. Guys, thanks for listening again to our Brick by Brick podcast, where we are laying the foundation for the future you are wanting to build. Have a good day.